Hi, welcome to another episode of Marlene at Home. I'm Marlene, the Adult Services Supervisor at the North Carroll branch. Since we're into November, I thought it would be a good day to talk about a Thanksgiving table. It's a beautiful fall day outside today, and I just wanted to share some ideas for how you could decorate your table. Here at my table, I was given a lovely weave golden white tablecloth, but it's a little too small for my table. So what I've done is I've added some sparkly, inexpensive, kind of metallic tablecloth underneath, and it's just helped break up that shortness of this tablecloth. So that is some basic things that I started with. Of course, I've changed at different times. I have different autumn decorations. Sometimes it's been a basket of mums here. Sometimes it's been a candle of some type. But anyway, just whatever you have, whatever you can use. You can always go and buy an inexpensive fall bouquet at the grocery store or at Walmart. One of the things I like to use at the holidays is a charger. A charger is just an inexpensive plate that goes under a plate. You cannot eat on these. They come in all different colors. At Christmas time I have some red ones. These are some gold ones. But you just lightly wash these off. I don't think they're able to go into the dishwasher or anything like that. But anyway, chargers they come in a pack usually of 4 or 6. So they're usually about $1 each, maybe a little bit more now. And then I put some antique dishes that belong to my dad's mom, my mom, and she used to entertain a lot at the holidays, and so these are some of what's left of hers. A couple of mine have some cracks in them, but I have enough. I have 6. Also, I still have the platter. It says Avon on the back, but it's not the Avon that we think of cosmetics. These are much older than that. And since my family background is from Europe and from Wales, and they could even be older than my grandmother. My grandmother was born in 1880, so they could have been her mothers for all I know. But anyway, I enjoy putting those out every Thanksgiving and using those. They say that you shouldn't eat off of these type plates anymore because of the gold paint that was used with them. So then what I do is I just buy some clear plastic plates, like they come in a pack of 24, something like that. I put the clear plastic plate over that if I want people to eat on these. Now my husband doesn't like if we use these on Thanksgiving because he says it's too small of a plate. I have noticed that older dishes, the dinner plates, are smaller than the size plates we're used to eating off of, and that tells us a little something about ourselves, doesn't it? But I always enjoy putting these out. I leave my table set, although I haven't been able to find my green goblets this year, so I still don't have my goblets on the table. But anyway, my famous dollar store goblets. But anyway, I usually have my green goblets on here, and then I'll put a linen fall napkin in them to finish the table off. But anyway, just some things about what's on my table, and you can totally change this idea. I have taken these off and not used them at Thanksgiving, and will use like my plain Fostoria. Then I put them on top of here, maybe use a more colorful napkin. But just some ideas of what you can do with the table. Often, well, I should say this, going back to my grandmother. My grandmother had 2 children, and well, she really had 3, but her firstborn did not live very long, so 2 children that lived to adulthood. But she had a sister that had 15 children, and my grandmother's sister died in her 50s, and my grandmother became the gathering spot for all of those kids in that family. So while my dad grew up with just he and his sister, he really grew up with many others that, although they were cousins, were like brothers and sisters. So my family on that side, on my dad's side of the family, was very large, and holidays were always very exciting. My grandparents never had electricity, and my grandfather had been involved in building down through the years, and what I have heard that he has said, again, he passed away when I was 5, so Anyway, what I heard that he was said was that electricity would never last because you can't put fire into walls and expect it to last. So there you go. Sometimes when something new comes out and we're thinking, oh, that's crazy, that's never going to work, you might just want to be careful about that. But anyway, my grandmother, her nieces and nephews called her Aunt Getta. She was just a gathering spot, and in her home, lots of people would be there at any time, but especially at the holidays. And I can remember her big wooden stove in the kitchen. I remember her cooking and her baking smells, even though I was just young when she moved. I was about 4 or 5 when she moved from that home, but I do have memories of it. I remember my mother would always say her favorite thing that my mom fixed was parsley potatoes for the holidays and creamed turnips, things like that. And my mother always said it never tasted the same without my mom's old wood stove. And so some special memories there. Because my grandparents did not have electricity, always kerosene lanterns were all around the house. I can remember sitting in their dining room and I would squint across the room. You know how you do, you can squint your eyes and the lights go kind of sparkly. I just loved doing that and eyeing the faces across the dark room in the evening as we sat at the table. And one of my older cousins said to me the other week, she said, I always thought your grandmother's house was magical because of all the kerosene lights and not having electricity. It was such a fun and different place to go to. And so that's a fun memory someone just shared with me recently, and I really appreciate that. Let me just show you one of the lights I have from my mom's house. I'm standing here at my mom's desk, and I've mentioned this in other episodes, but I wanted to bring you in here this time because I wanted to show you one of her kerosene lamps. I mentioned that my grandparents did not have electricity, and this was one of her kerosene lamps that my mom and my dad had, and then my mom had it electrified. But I can just visualize these all throughout my grandparents' house. And as I mentioned, sitting across the table, squinting my eyes through the light, looking through this. And then my mother also purchased one of these shades and gave me this whole light if I don't break it. Let's see if I can get it back on there securely. Okay, there we go. And so anyway, I love to have it here on my mom's desk, just a nice memory of her. And here are 2 pictures that were hers, and maybe they sat here on this desk, I don't remember that. But one of my dad, one of my aunt, his sister, 2 very old little frames of babies. And so these are very fun memories for me. I mentioned what a big family we had. But also, my grandmother was just someone that was so loving, so kind. I never heard one negative word my entire life from my grandmother about anybody, about anything. She was just the sweetest, kindest, godly woman. I so admired her, even though I was just a young girl of about 9 or 10 when she passed away. I have fond memories of my mama. She also, she was just a drawing card to people in her church, in her community. It just seemed like everyone knew my grandmother. And in her sweet, quiet way, she just was very magnetic. She also had a love for children. I mentioned how she cared for her sister's children, but also those children's children. Some of my cousins have said, oh, they always had us over on Christmas Eve, and all of us kids would bring one of our new toys or our new doll, and your mama and papa would be so excited to see what we got for Christmas, and they would give us gifts and give us toys and would always do things with the children. And that's something I remember about my grandmother. My grandmother had 3 grandchildren, my sister and I, and 1 cousin, 3 girls. She called us her 3 little kittens. And she would sing to us, she would play games to us. I think she was the most patriotic person that I ever knew. She was very much, taught us patriotic songs. That's where I learned songs like She's a Grand Old Flag. She would sing this to us, all kinds of things. And she was very involved in issues of her day. And so kind of a woman before her times. And for somebody so soft-spoken and sweet and kind, it almost doesn't fit, but that's just the way she was. So she would always include things for children to do at the holidays. And so I try to remember that for my own family. One of the things we did last year, and I think my daughter got this like at a dollar store. It just came in a pack. It's kind of a canvasy kind of material. And somewhere here I laid down the fabric pen that came with it. And last year we went around and we always do at our table before we pray, name one thing you're thankful for this year. But this year we also put it in writing because you often can't remember from year to year. And so one of my little grandchildren wrote they were thankful for their family. Someone else wrote a house. One of my son-in-laws said they were thankful for family and football. Someone else, I can hardly read his handwriting. Christmas. I was like, what is that? Let's see, what are some of the other ones? Oh, one of my son-in-law said for a drum set. Friends, another grandchild said, we decorated Christmas cookies last Thanksgiving weekend when we were all together. So one of my daughters said, decorating Christmas trees with frosting. I said that all my family was home. My two girls, my son-in-laws, all my grandchildren were around this table last Thanksgiving. Josiah, a little grandson, he drew pictures of people. My daughter that had just moved north from the south after a number of years in the south said she was thankful for sweaters and electric blankets. A girl after my own heart. One of my granddaughters wrote she was thankful for mom. So I'm thankful, that's me. I'm thankful. Somebody else said comfy warm boots. My little grandson said wrestling. He was wrestling last fall. Another one of the boys said turkey. Another one said food. Another one said cranberry sauce. Or cranberries, my youngest one said. So anyway, fun things to do that include the children also in the holiday. Another thing is crafts. One of my granddaughters in school made these little name tags made out of this one, Mama, Papa. They're just little fingerprints that you put your finger on a stamp or in paint, and your thumb is the turkey body, and a middle finger would be the feathers, and then your little pinky finger would be the very top, smaller feathers. And so just an easy way. And then we set these out, as I'll put them on this side so you can see them, for place cards. The other fun thing to do is to include, you can get these really inexpensively. I think these came from Oriental Trading. You might get 10 or 12 for such and such a price, but you could fill these with nuts or candy, some little toy or that kind of thing. They make a cute favor on the table and add some color, as well as, sometimes the kids just can't wait to eat, and so maybe give them a little treat before or after. Maybe if you clean up your plate, you get da-da-da-da. So anyway, some ideas of things that we have around. Other things that I use just in decorating my room. I love the people that are talented enough to make scrapbooking cards. And so I keep the ones from year to year. And this is one of mine from several years ago. A dear friend of mine that's passed away, but my dear friend Debbie that made this Give Thanks card. And so I love to put that out each year. And the lighting, will change during the day at Thanksgiving dinner. It might be bright. I still have the candles lit, that kind of thing. But by the evening, I love all the sparkly little lights that I have around the room. Also, I have some things in this corner cupboard that came from my grandmother. I just filled them with potpourri, and I forget what these are called. There's some kind of ware. I want to say naperware, but that could be wrong. Let's see. I can't quite read it. But anyway, thank you for those of you that have been emailing me and asking me questions about specific items I talk about. So I could get out my magnifying glass if you need to know the names of these things. But this was, there's a big turkey, and then there's two little ones. And if you've seen the session on my dog, you'll know why I am keeping things with potpourri high and behind, not locked doors, but almost. So the dog can't get into my potpourri and chew it. And then something that was my mom's, and I'm not really sure might come from somebody on her side of the family that I like to put out at Thanksgiving is this Native American. And that's very old and antique. Oh, okay, it came from, my mother wrote on the bottom, I was so impressed. It came from a dear family friend that lived next door to us for many, many years. And she said this was in her family for many, many years. So, Miss Davis is the name of the lady that gave us this, and so that was very special. So that's just some of the things here that I've used in my dining room and in setting up and getting ready for Thanksgiving. Some library materials I'd like to suggest on the topics that we've been talking about today. One is a book I may have mentioned before. It's called Thanksgiving by Sam Sifton. He's one of America's great food writers, and I love that he says in this book that this is a definitive, timeless guide to Thanksgiving dinner, preparing for it, surviving it, and pulling it off in style. So if you're a new beginner or you've done Thanksgiving for years, you might want to look at this for ideas, recipes, that kind of thing. If you are looking for how to cook Thanksgiving dinner, here is the Fine Cookbook Thanksgiving Dinner Recipes for Turkey and All the Trimmings. There's Southern Living's Pie Book. You might want to look at that. Lots of things in there. If you are on the paleo diet, and there's a whole book called Gather, The Art of Paleo Entertaining, you might want to look at that. You might want to check out one of our magazines. One of the things that's different in this setup, Corona setup at the library right now, where we're opened on a limited basis, is that you can check out our most recent month or season of magazines. Usually those are in plastic covers. You can read them in the library. You can't check them out. That's not true during this phase of our library life. And so anyway, you might want to check out Eating Well. Thanksgiving dinner is here. Let's do this. 40 seasonal recipes, and it includes sides and turkey made easy and how to celebrate. So there's that one. Very popular magazine, The Pioneer Woman. This is the fall 2020. Home Sweet Home, if you watch the Pioneer Woman TV show. Martha Stewart's Living 101, October's edition in Fall Glory, ways to celebrate the season in fall. Oprah Winfrey's November edition of her magazine, Finding Gratitude, Yes, Even Now. Rethinking Thanksgiving, Old Miss, out, New Traditions in, and A Genius Plan for the Leftovers. So there's some things there. Also, here's a PBS Pilgrims DVD you might want to look at. And thinking of the Pilgrims reminds me of, I don't know if any of you remember this, in the 1950s, these little candles at Thanksgiving and Christmas were very popular. And I did happen to find a real original one once up near our cabin at a little store. But you can also go to the Vermont Country Store, and they were able to get the molds for these candles. So I have been able to find reproductions of the turkey. I have a lot more of Christmas than I do of Thanksgiving, but the Pilgrims and the girl and the boy, the man and the woman. So fond memories for me, maybe for you too, from the 1950s of Thanksgiving. But I just want to say thank you for joining me once again. It's nice to have you with Marlene at home.